Alright, so today is the second part of using our trig ratios to find the missing sides. Last class we used the inverse functions of inverse sine, the inverse cosine, and the inverse tangent functions to find the angles. Okay? Today we're just going to use the regular trig functions cosine, sine, and tangent to find a missing side in a triangle. Now do remember, anytime you're taking a quiz or a CDA, if you are given two measurements of your sides and you need to find the third side, you do not have to use our trig functions to find that, because these are right triangles. You can always use Pythagorean's theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, to find the missing side. But you have to know two sides in order to use Pythagorean's theorem, okay? So today we're just going to learn how to use our trig functions in order to find the missing side. So when we're trying to find a missing side, notice there is no inverse. We're just going to use sine, cosine, and tangent functions. So that means we do not have to hit second first when we put this in our calculator. Alright, so what we're going to be doing here first is you're going to figure out which ratio you're going to use the same way we did last class. So you're going to label what's given. Is it the opposite side, adjacent, or hypotenuse? Okay? Then you're going to solve, just like you're solving an equation, to get the variable by itself. Okay? So you're going to pretend like it's an equation, and you're going to solve just like you're solving an equation to get the variable by itself. At the end, you will type in a math statement in your calculator to get your answer, kind of like we did last class, okay? And make sure that you read the directions so that you know where to round your answer correctly. So whenever you're going to use any of our trig buttons on our calculator, you have to make sure that your calculator is in degree mode. Okay, I know we're not finding angle measurements today, but we just want to make sure anytime that we're using cosine, sine, and tangent that our calculator is in degree mode. So again, if you hit your mode button, turn your calculator on, and then hit the mode button, I just want you to peek and make sure that the word degree is highlighted. So it should have a box around it like this, and it has to be colored in. Okay, so this is very important for you to remember, because on the day of your test, all of the calculators have to be reset, and that means you're going to have to go in here and make sure that you check your mode, make sure that degree is highlighted. Okay, remember to get out of here now. We hit second and mode, and that will get me back to the regular calculator screen. Alright, so we're ready to work. So there's only 4 examples, because I know that you guys have done this procedure so much now that it should be like, you know, second nature to you. Alright, so we're over here, and they want us to figure out the value of x. So this is what I'm solving for today. Okay? They do want me to round my answer to the nearest 10th place, which means I get to keep 1 place behind the decimal. That is what the 10th place means. You can keep 1 of your decimal places. That's it. So where should I draw my little man on my picture this time? I don't know what's up with my figure. I'm just trying to fix it here. It got a little scrambled there. Alright, so my little man should go where the angle is. So we're looking at it from the perspective of this angle. Wherever the angle is that you see in your picture, that's where the little man goes. Okay, so that means this side would be opposite, and this side is hypotenuse, and that makes this side the adjacent side. So I write my little trig ratio. So TOA. Okay, and let me clean this up, because you guys should know now that the 10th place is 1 place behind the decimal, so we don't need to see that. Alright, so based on where my numbers are and where the variable is, I need to use this side, which is going to be adjacent because I have a number on this side. And I have to use the opposite side because that's where x is. And I have to include x in this problem in order to solve for x, okay? So we need something that has O and A, and that is going to be the tangent function. Notice it has opposite and adjacent, and the T means we're using tangent. So we're not going to put tangent of x or tangent of theta because look, they gave me the measurement of my angle. My angle is 55 degrees. So that is what's going to go in here instead of using theta or x. So the tangent of 55, because that's the angle that we were looking at it. Remember, the little man was over here and we're looking at it from his view, equals opposite, which is x, divided by 20. So we're still doing opposite divided by adjacent, okay? Now you see this looks like an equation, okay? We have a variable on this side of the equation. Wherever your variable is, you are solving for that variable. Notice we're not solving for an angle because we have the angle degree. So what would you do to this problem in order to get x by itself, okay? That means x gets to stay where he is, but this term has to go. So what are we doing with the 20 right now? What does this line mean? Correct, we're dividing. So the opposite would be to multiply. So we have to multiply this side by 20. Then that means we have to multiply this side by 20 also, okay? So let's rewind. We're trying to get x by itself. I looked down here and I saw that I was dividing by the number 20. So in order to get x by itself, 20 has to go. And the fraction bar means to divide. So the opposite would be to multiply by 20 on both sides, okay? So on this side we have 20 times the tangent of 55 equals 20 divided by 20 cancels. So all I have left is x. And this is what you want. This side will give me my answer when I type it into the calculator. So you have to put all of this side in your calculator and you will figure out what the length of x is. So we'll figure out how long is this side once we put this in. So we're going to type it in just like we see it. The number 20 is first, so I type in 20. And then you just hit the tangent button. So you do not have to hit second. Make sure you're not doing that. We're just hitting tangent. And then 55 and close your parenthesis in your calculator. Press enter. Now we get a number that is a decimal, but remember we just want ours to be rounded to the nearest tenth. The tenth is one place behind the decimal. So that is going to be 28.6 because there is a 6 behind the 5 and that makes the 5 go up 1. So the length of the opposite side here would be 28.6 and we're done. Now notice we could not use Pythagorean's theorem in this picture because we were not given two sides. We were only given one. So that's when I know I have to use my trig in order to get that answer. Okay? That's it. Let's go down to our next example. Once again, we're finding the missing side and they want me to round to the tenth place. So I get to keep one place behind the decimal. That's what the tenth place means. Alright, so I draw my little stick man by the angle because that's where he goes. He always goes by the angle. And let's figure out what we have here. So this side is across from my angle or the stick man. So that is my opposite side. This is hypotenuse because it is the side that is across from the right angle or the diagonal side. So then that means x is adjacent. So it looks like we're using the tangent function again. So if we look at these carefully, so, ka, toa, We are given the side that's opposite, which is 80. And we're looking for the value of x, which is adjacent. So we have to use the tangent function. Alright, so I write tangent of what is the measurement of the angle? 72. And remember, the number that goes next to your trig function is always the angle measurement. That's the one that has the degree sign. Okay? Equals my O, which is opposite. That's going to be 80. Because remember, 80 was opposite my angle. He got the O. Divided by adjacent, which is my variable x. Okay, so while the setup of this problem looked like it was going to be the same, it's not actually the same because x is on the bottom this time. But we're still going to do the same thing we did in our last problem. So we're going to multiply by whatever is on the bottom of our fraction because that's going to get rid of the fraction. So we're going to multiply this side by x. And we got to multiply this side by x. Much like in the previous example, we multiply both sides by 20 because that was the number on the bottom. So it doesn't matter whether it's a number or a variable. The first step is going to be to multiply by whatever is on the bottom. Alright, so on this side, we just get x. Then we get the tangent of 72 degrees. Remember that a letter right next to something means that you're multiplying. So I don't have to put that dot in there. Now on this side, an x on the bottom and an x on the bottom, on the top, that means they just divide out. So all I have left over here is 80. Alright? Now I just need to get rid of all of this. And x will be by itself. Okay? All of that needs to go. Remember that we were multiplying x times this, so the opposite would be to divide by what we want to get rid of, which is tangent of 72 degrees. We are simply doing the opposite operation. This is why algebra is so important before you take geometry, because you have to know how to eliminate things. So tangent divided by tangent, that cancels out. All of that's gone. We have x by itself, which is what we wanted. And this side is going to give me my answer. So this time we got to put 80 divided by, because that's what we see up here, tangent of 72 degrees. Okay? This side we put in our calculator, and that is going to give me the answer. So put this in your calculator, and then we will have the answer. We will figure out what is the length of x. So in my calculator, I put in 80 divided by the tangent of 72. And close your parenthesis. And remember, we're rounding to one place behind the decimal. So if I round, that 9 it goes up 1, and that makes it 26. So we're going to have 26.0, and that is not a degree because we're not finding an angle measurement. So that means the length of x is 26. Okay? We have just found the measurement of the side. Okay? And notice that we were only given one side in the beginning, so that means I had to use trig. I don't know enough to use Pythagorean's theorem. Okay? Alright, so let's go to the other side. I'm going to do one more with you, and then I want you to try the last one by yourself. Okay? Oh, that's kind of big. Alright, so we are going to find the missing side again. They still want me to round to the 10th position. RTSQ, make sure you read the directions. Alright, so here we go. Ooh. Having a little malfunction with the board, excuse me. Alright, so remember the little stick man goes where the angle is. So that's where I draw him. We're going to label our sides. This is the opposite side. this is the hypotenuse. So I am using which one of my trig functions? Very good. We are using sine because we have h and o, opposite and hypotenuse, and those are found in the sine function. So sine of, what's my angle? 24 degrees equals, what is opposite? X over, what is hypotenuse? 283. All right. So remember, we've been pretty consistent on the steps that we take in order to get the variable by itself. What do I need to get rid of? This 283, because the goal is to get x by itself. So we're dividing by 283 right now. That's what this fraction bar means. So the opposite, and you have to always think the opposite, okay, would be to do what? To multiply by 283. That way it cancels on this side. But I also have to multiply this side by 283 also. Otherwise, we're not equal. We have to do the same thing on both sides of our equation. So this will give me x equals, and all of this I'm going to type in my calculator, 283, the sine of 24 degrees. And this goes in my calculator so that we can get the answer. All right, so 283 sine and then 24. All right, I press enter. Remember, we're rounding to the tenths place. That's one place behind the decimal. Excuse my handwriting. Okay, so we get x equals 115.1. So that means the length over here of this side is 115.1. Now that makes sense because when you look at the other numbers that were given here, they're pretty big. Okay, so that makes sense for that side to be that big. All right, so any questions? You can pause the video right now, Ms. Hall, and answer any questions if anybody has any questions. All right. So this is the last example, and because it is the last example, I want you to try to set this one up by yourself. So I need you to go ahead and pause the video, allow the students to try to work this one independently, and when they're ready, you can push play. Alright, so this is our last example for our trig function for finding a missing side. So we've learned our trig ratios, we've learned how to solve for a missing angle, we've learned how to solve for a missing side. Let's see if you got it. This is the majority of this CDA. This CDA is all on trig, okay? I've already seen it. I've already taken the CDA myself. This is huge. All right. So we're looking at it from the perspective of 40 degrees, and he was up in this corner, so that's why I draw my stick person. So this side would be the opposite side. I don't have anything on the opposite side. That makes this one the adjacent side because this, the diagonal side or the side across from the right angle, is the hypotenuse. All right, so what are we using? So, TOA. We have an adjacent and hypotenuse. That means we get to use cosine, which is good because we haven't got to use him today. Okay, so cosine, cosine of 40 degrees. Remember, we always use the angle measurement that's given. We never use 90 degrees. We always use the other one. Equals adjacent, which is x, over hypotenuse, which is 20. So here we go, solving this equation, and we're going to multiply by 20, because we always get rid of the number that's on the bottom of that fraction first. So we multiply by 20 on both sides. Notice I put a 20 on this side and once on this side. So this side is going to give me my answer. 20 times the cosine of 40 degrees equals x, because that's all that's left. So this side goes in the calculator. So 20 cosine of 40 degrees equals, rounded to the nearest 10th place, because that's one place behind the decimal, that is going to be 15.3. So the length of x is 15.3. And done. So I have to be honest with you on your CDA. The first half of your CDA, and it is broken into two halves that have 10 problems each. So there's 20 total problems. You probably have 6 short response questions like this that are going to require you to draw a picture, put your angle in there, and find a missing side or angle. Okay? So this is very important. If you still don't understand after we've done all 4 of these examples, please make sure that you're asking questions to Ms. Hall, or that you're going to tutoring, or that you visit my website so that you can watch this video again. All of the videos that are presented in class are available on my website. In addition, you can always type in "find the missing side" in youtube.com, and it will bring up a million videos that you can watch. Okay, I really want you guys to be successful on this CDA, so that as we start the new year, our grades will be looking good. Okay, thank you so much for being focused and paying attention and taking good notes. Now you're going to do your classwork. You want to work as many problems on your classwork as you can before the bell sounds. That is classwork, so it's due at the end of class, and you will get a separate homework paper based on how you behave during your classwork. So if you're talking, laughing, and joking and nobody's doing their work, then you're going to have another homework worksheet. Okay, and if you're not, if you stay focused and get your classwork done, then we can forego the homework. Okay, thank you so much, you guys. Have a good day.